All right, what's up, you all? I'm gonna jump right into it. What's up, Angel Wings? What's up, Pamela, Miss Calhoun? Um, I am on CP time. Um, I want to talk about the move bombing. I've been hearing a lot about the move bombing. This is where the police dropped a bomb on these residents, and this is supposed to be proof that America's racist. But they leave out a lot of things that happened as to why a bomb was dropped on these people. Now, you all do know if you wage war, you have to expect warlike tactics. And what I find is that black people love to talk like war revolutionary talk, but when it actually happens, they start crying about racism. My thing is, if you want to go to war with the government or the police, then why are you getting on TV trying to get sympathy? Just say what it is. Say we went to war with the police, went to war with the government, and we lost. But anyway, let me just. So the person that started Move out of Philadelphia is a person named John Africa. Now we know with a name like John Africa, it's going to be some foolishness. John Africa, he was born Vincent Leaphart. He's the founder of Move, a Philadelphia-based, predominantly black organization, active from the early 1970s and still active. He and his followers were killed at a residential home, which served as the headquarters of Move, in a fire after the Philadelphia Police Department bombed the house with C4 explosives and deliberately let the fire rage until it was out of control, following a standoff and firefight between Move and the police. Let's see who John Africa was. Let's just see who he was. And what's up, everybody? What's up, Pisces Princess? What's up, Doug? What's up? The Ice Cold Wolf? What's up? Leatherface? What's up? Hello, good people. I mean, Lynn Bell, what's up? Leatherface said it's the Jews. Zoom 7K, what's up? Rena Bina, what's up? Kenya, what's up? Cruise Missile, what's up? Donna, what's up? Oh, yeah, the guy in New Orleans. That's another. And again, all of this stuff comes from the same vein. And I had a video. But anyway, all this stuff comes from the same vein. Everybody accepts this kind of behavior because they believe it's going against white people. So at the end of it, people aren't really upset at the guy that had the truck or the cyber truck blowing up or the guy that ran truck through the crowd, because at the end of the day, they're doing it against white people. Folks aren't upset with the organization like Move because doing it against white people. So what you'll find is that the outrage isn't the same because they feel like it's being done to white people. So in other words, what I'm saying is there's more outrage for George Floyd than this guy running his truck through a crowd of people. And again, I'll ask anybody a sensible question. My question is, if the police tell you to do something and you say no, what do you think is going to happen? I'm just asking for, because I'm in the back of the class. Raise my hand. Teacher, if the police ask somebody to do something and they say no, what do you think is going to happen? Like you think, like, and this is black folks. Black folks believe they can always stall the police out. This is what black folks they try to. I'm gonna stay in my car. I'm gonna resist arrest. I'm gonna do. Black people try to stall the police out in hopes the police get tired and just leave. They're not. They have a job to do, and at that very moment, you are their job. They're not going to just leave You know, I watch hours upon hours of interrogations. I do, because I like to get into the minds of these deviant psychopaths, these killers, these narcissists, these social deviants, these crazy folks, these manipulators. I like to get in the mind of these people. And the one common theme I find with all these people is these people feel like somebody owes them something. These people feel like somebody owes them something, whether it's the government, whether it's society, whether it's us, whether they feel like somebody owes them something. Just a total self-centered worldview. But if you tell the police no, then what do you think the police are going to do? If you have a shootout with the police, what do you think the police are going to do?
This is Vincent Lopez Leapart, better known as John Africa, born July 26, 1931, in West Philadelphia. After completing the 5th grade, Vincent was diagnosed as mentally retarded, which made Vincent and his brothers very ashamed, and demanded that Vincent attend a different school. As a child, he was very intelligent, but he also struggled with reading and writing. Family and close friends of Vincent said if he would have been diagnosed today, he would have been diagnosed with a learning disability rather than an intellectual disability.
Now, look what he just said. He just said the school said he was mentally retarded. I'm not laughing at that. I'm just saying that the school said that he was mentally retarded. They come back and say he was very intelligent, but he struggled with reading and writing. I mean, like, come on. Listen, y'all, we got to be sensible. We got to be sensible now. We have to be sensible. The man just said, they said he was mentally retarded. He said he was very intelligent, but he struggled with reading and writing and math. So what do you want the schools to do if the boy can't read or write or do math? What do you want the school to do? What do you want these schools to do? I know what you want me to do. What Bush did. No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind was the biggest indictment on the Black community ever, because Black folks were willing to allow their children to be promoted through these grades without being qualified. There was no shame involved. Black folks literally said, I want my child to graduate even if they can't read and write or do math. That was the biggest indictment on the character of Black people. I'm going to start over.
This is Vincent Lopez Leapart, better known as John Africa, born July 26, 1931, in West Philadelphia. After completing the 5th grade, Vincent was diagnosed as mentally retarded, which made Vincent and his brothers very ashamed, and demanded that Vincent attend a different school.
Now look how nice these folks were. This is about 1941. So in 1941, even though he's mentally retarded, they still passed him to the 6th grade. So they was nice to him. Even though they labeled him mentally retarded, they still let him go on to the 6th grade.
As a child, he was very intelligent, but he also struggled with reading and writing. Family and close friends of Vincent said if he would have been diagnosed today, he would have been diagnosed with a learning disability rather than an intellectual disability. Vincent dropped out of school when he turned 16, having just a 5th grade education.
Hold on. We can't even listen, man, black people lie so much. It's actually disgusting. I'm we'll play it again. I can't even get through the first minute. Let's start over. I'm sorry.
This is Vincent Lopez Leapart, better known as John Africa, born July 26, 1931, in West Philadelphia. After completing the 5th grade, Vincent was diagnosed as mentally retarded, which made Vincent and his brothers very ashamed, and demanded that Vincent attend a different school. As a child, he was very intelligent, but he also struggled with reading and writing. Family and close friends of Vincent said if he would have been diagnosed today, he would have been diagnosed with a learning disability rather than an intellectual disability.
He would have been, so if he was diagnosed today, he would have been diagnosed with a learning disability rather than an intellectual disability. So you all do realize that if you have a learning disability, it's not just in school. I'm going to say this again. If you have a learning disability, it's not just in school. It's your entire life. You have a disability. Folks love to compartmentalize and say, well, it's just in school. No, if you have a learning disability, it's with your whole life. So it's not just he just had trouble learning in school. He had trouble learning in the world. Let's continue.
Vincent dropped out of school when he turned 16, having just a 5th grade education.
Now, wait a minute. They try to get slick on us now. So he got promoted to the 6th grade, but he dropped out of school at 16 with only a 5th grade education. So let me see. I'm not the brightest now. I'm not the brightest. So 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th. Okay, so he was in school 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, or he was in school for 6 years and did not move past a 5th grade education. And his family is trying to say, well, he's not mentally retarded. It's just a learning disability. At 16 years old, he had a 5th grade education, but he was in school 6 more years from when he got diagnosed with being mentally retarded. So that means he was not slow. You ever seen a slug moving backwards? That's how slow he was. Have you ever seen a slug going in reverse? That's how slow he was. He was in school for 6 years and couldn't complete 1 grade. So now we know that John Africa wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. He wasn't the most useful tool in the toolbox. He was a few cars short of a deck. As the old folks would say, he's special. So we already know that this guy's a leader of the movement in Philadelphia, and he is slow. Let's continue. Now, keep in mind, He's revered in the Black community. So just let y'all know. Yes, Tierra, he's touched. You know, words like he's touched, he's special. This is John Africa. This is John Africa, founder of the Move movement in Philadelphia. And the boy was in school till he was 16 years old and couldn't get past the 6th grade. I'm gonna play it again. I'm gonna just play all the way through so y'all can just hear it for yourselves because I keep stopping it. Let me just play it again. I'm sorry.
This is Vincent Lopez Leapart, better known as John Africa, born July 26, 1931, in West Philadelphia. After completing the 5th grade, Vincent was diagnosed as mentally retarded, which made Vincent and his brothers very ashamed, and demanded that Vincent attend a different school. As a child, he was very intelligent, but he also struggled with reading and writing. Family and close friends of Vincent said if he would have been diagnosed today, he would have been diagnosed with a learning disability rather than an intellectual disability. Vincent dropped out of school when he turned 16, having just a 5th grade education. In 1952, Vincent Leapart was drafted into the United States Army and sent to fight in the Korean War. He served as an infantryman on the front lines and received an honorable discharge after fulfilling his full 2-year commitment. After his discharge...
Now you know he didn't pass not one test in the Army. Now you all know he didn't pass not one test in the Army. If he couldn't complete the 6th grade, then you know he didn't pass any test in the Army. They just wanted a body. He probably was physically, when they kind of retarded, they'd be physically strong. So he probably had the physical gifts. He probably could run the 2 miles fast. He probably could climb the little rope fast. He could do all the physical stuff very well. So they said, we can't let this good soldier go to waste. Now we know he can't read, write, or do math, but he can fight and he can shoot a gun. So they're gonna use him. But we do know that John Africa did not pass a single test in the Army. And he was honorably discharged after 2 years. I imagine the 2 years was treacherous for the folks in the Army because if he can't grasp simple concepts, it's going to be tough. You still got to be able to follow commands.
Charged from the Army, Vincent spent the next decade hustling his time between Philadelphia, Atlantic City, and New York City, all looking for work. In 1960, Vincent Leapart met and married Dorothy Clark.
So he spent 10 years. He spent 10 years between Philadelphia, New York, and Atlantic City looking for work. So he spent 10 years being a degenerate. Now keep in mind, he can't read, write, or do math on grade level. So they said he was diagnosed being mentally retarded. We know that he's not good scholastically. He was looking for work. Now, I know back in them days, if you was willing to work, you was going to find a job. This is back in the 50s and 60s. If you wanted to work, they're going to use you. So the fact that he couldn't keep a job lets me know how his character. It lets me know his character. He stayed in the Army 2 years. He gets out. He spent 10 years in obscurity. Let's continue.
However, soon after, Vincent and Dorothy's marriage became difficult. With the disappointment of not being able to have children, alleged violence arose. Out of refuge, Dorothy began to follow the teachings of the Kingdom of Yahweh, which was a new religious movement. that combined the philosophies of Seventh-day Adventism and British Judaism, founded by the Reverend Joseph Jeffers.
So notice the narrator said alleged violence. Now we know good and well that if this man married this woman and he wasn't willing to work, it was a bunch of arguments. And we know that when folks have low IQs and low critical thinking and low functioning brains, they usually they express themselves physically. So this guy said alleged violence. The woman left and went to go follow some white folks talking about Yahweh. She was getting beat. I said the woman left and went to go follow some white folks talking about Yahweh. You know she was getting beat. So this alleged nothing. She was getting, what else he gonna do? He ain't working. What else he gonna do? Talking about alleged violence. Black folks lie.
However, soon after, Vincent and Dorothy's marriage became difficult. With the disappointment of not being able to have children, alleged violence arose. Out of refuge, Dorothy began to follow the teachings of the Kingdom of Yahweh, which was a new religious movement that combined the philosophies of Seventh-day Adventism and British Judaism, founded by the Reverend Joseph Jeffers. A year after officially converting to the Kingdom of Yahweh, Dorothy Clark filed an assault charge against Vincent Limpart. However, she dropped the complaint.
So she filed an assault charge against him because he was beating her. And then she dropped. Now listen. She wasn't thinking about filing no charges against Vincent until she got around them white folks. She wasn't thinking about filing no charges against Vincent until she went around them white folks. And then white folks said, listen, Dorothy, that's wrong. He's not supposed to be beating you like that. Now, I want to tell you this right now. Anytime you see a black movement, the leadership is always compromised. Anytime you see a black movement, I don't care what it is, the leadership is always compromised. That means the person that's leading the movement is a person of low character. Because anybody with character and common sense is not going to try to lead black people. Anybody with some sense would not try to lead black people. You have to be insane to want to lead black people. Insane. The last person that tried to lead black people was Moses. And you saw what happened. He was the last one. Everybody since him has been compromised. So this Vincent Leopard, aka John Africa, is already starting out on the wrong foot. And you and I know that most black men don't miraculously get character all of one day and become honorable men. It's not how that works. They usually start with low character and it just gets lower. And how do I know it's lower? Because before he tried to fix himself, he wanted to lead other black folks. Before he had a steady job, he wanted to get married. He was in school from 10 years old to 16 and didn't move up one grade. The apple don't fall too far from the tree. Thank you, Mott. I'm going to get to that real soon, Mott. Thank you, Mott. Mott said, I'm from Philly, and it was black people that wanted him out of the neighborhood by any means necessary. Black people went to the mayor's office complaining for months. He is not lying. What they're not going to tell you about the movement is that the black folks in the neighborhood was tired of them. They're not going to tell you that. It was black folks saying, get them up out of here. Thank you, Mott. But we're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. Oh, we're going to get to it. Let's continue.
In 1967, after the end of his marriage, Vincent's family and friends realized that he's become withdrawn, contemplative, and indifferent. He then spent most of his free time isolated in a small West Philadelphia apartment, developing ideas that would go into a manuscript. Vincent Limpart began to transform himself into John Africa. John Africa began to...
An idle mind is the devil's playground. John Africa, Vincent Vincent was in a room by himself. He wasn't praying. He wasn't fasting. He was in a room by himself, depressed. He wasn't working. You see, when a man is not doing, he is going to listen to Satan. An idle mind is the devil's playground. So when he was in that room, the devil had his full and undivided attention. And he started cooking up some foolishness.
In 1967, after the end of his marriage, Vincent's family and friends realized that he's become withdrawn, contemplative, and indifferent. He then spent most of his free time isolated in a small West Philadelphia apartment, developing ideas that would go into a manuscript. Vincent Limpart began to transform himself into John Africa. John Africa began to compose the sacred text of the move, which would become known as the John Africa Guidelines. In the fall of 1968, John Africa dictated the guidelines over a 6-year period. Several people helped him create the manuscript. John Africa would sit on a chair or on the floor and start talking. Family members and later disciples typed his words on a typewriter, struggling to keep up with the flow of his revelations. John Africa instructed his assistants to type all capital letters and not to use any periods.
The irony of somebody that's full of cap telling these folks to type in all caps, just the irony. Somebody capping telling y'all to type in all caps. And then guess what? No periods. I want you to think about what happens to a man when he's undisciplined. I want you to type in all caps with no periods. So how do you distinguish one point from the next? You don't. Because God is not the author of confusion. And if God's not the author of confusion, then who is? Now, the reason why he couldn't write this down himself, probably because he couldn't read or write by this time either. This is why he had to sit down and talk and have somebody try to type what he was saying. Undisciplined. Undisciplined. But this is the man they chose to follow. I don't care what the black organization is, the leadership will not be righteous. It will always be compromised.
In the late 1970s, John Africa's assistants divided the manuscript into sections and organized John Africa's teachings by topic. The older testaments of the manuscript contain John Africa's teachings on economics, gang prevention, and the government. The newer testament covers topics on gender, sex, diet, health, entertainment, animal welfare, marriage, divorce, abortion, and more. In 1974, the Move people revered the text as a scripture, often referring to the guidelines as the Move Bible. The people of the move also believed that the teachings contained in the text had a supernatural ability to affect the body chemistry of those who heard it, even when spoken. According to the John Africa guidelines, there was another person besides John Africa who lived in total harmony with the natural law, Jesus of Nazareth. John Africa had a deep respect for Jesus, and he saw him as a precursor to his own message. He called Jesus the God of the self, master of reality, omniscient of wisdom.
Omniscient, man. Omniscient. Goodness. So let's go back a little bit. So you see, what I tell you all about all of these movements, the foundation of all these movements, they have to go at the Bible as the foundation. All of these movements have to springboard off of God's word. They have to either go against it, either have to use it, but God's word has to be at the core of it. It has to. Isn't it ironic that he's sitting there having these revelations, ain't opened one Bible, but somehow, some way, he's relating to Jesus? Who do you think he's talking to? Tierra Barnes said that black people follow everything except Jesus. Now, I want to get to the John Africa sacred text. I really want to read it. I really want to see it. I really want to see the sacred text. Oh, they want you to pay for it. Boy, listen, man, when I tell you they cold, they want you to, every time I want to look something up, I got to pay for it. So Africa is love life. Africa believed in the importance of all life and taught people to protect all life equally, reject modern society. Africa's teachings call for the rejection of modern technology, society, and a return to a hunter-gatherer society. Good luck with that in the city. Avoid modern medicine. Africa taught people to avoid modern medicine and technology. Practice strict vegetarianism. Africa encouraged people to eat raw food and practice strict vegetarianism. Live communally. Africa encouraged people to live communally. I really want to see his manuscript, and I will try to find that next time because I really want to. Maybe it's on their website. Maybe I don't know. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. So here we go, y'all. Move, belief and practice. The Move organization is a family of strong, serious, deeply committed revolutionaries founded by a wise, perceptive, strategically minded black man named John Africa. The principle of our belief is explained in a collection of writings we call the Guidelines, authored by John Africa. To honor our beloved founder and acknowledge the wisdom and strength he has given us, we say, long live John Africa. It's funny that what I'm reading has punctuations and everything ain't in all caps. Anyway, our religion, life. John Africa taught us that life is the priority. Nothing is more important or is as important as life, the force that keeps us alive. All life comes from one source, from God, Mom Nature, Moma. Each individual life is dependent on every other life, and all life has a purpose So all living beings, things that move, are equally important. Whether they are human beings, dogs, birds, fish, trees, ants, weeds, rivers, wind, or rain, to stay healthy and strong, life must have clean air, clear water, and pure food. If derived of things, life will cycle to the next level, or as the system says, die. Natural law. We believe in natural law, the government of self. Man-made laws are not really laws because they don't apply equally to everyone, and they contain exceptions and loopholes. Man-made laws are constantly being amended or repealed. Natural law stays the same and always has. Man's law requires police, sheriffs, armies, and courts to enforce them, and lawyers to explain them. True self-law is self-explanatory and self-enforcing. In the undisturbed jungles, oceans, and deserts of the world, there are no courtrooms or jails. The animals and plants don't need them. No living being has to consult a law book to be able to know if they have to cough, sneeze, or urinate. Natural law says that when you see something getting too close to your eye, you will blink, whether you are a German Shepherd or a Supreme Court justice. My goodness. So we can already gather from these teachings that he was not just a natural law person, but he's also communist. Anytime you hear the word revolutionary, going against the system, this is all communism, living together, communism. Now, everybody loves to compare humanity in a social environment to nature. Now, in society, we have police, judges, lawyers, laws, and stuff because in nature, if you get out of pocket, you get killed. So, in other words, there was this one video, some hippopotamuses in a lake. And this little gazelle just stumbles across I don't know where the gazelle was going, but he stumbles in the hippo area. Now, the hippos don't eat meat. They're not carnivorous. They're herbivores. But this gazelle going into their area was a no-no. Those hippopotamuses exacted judgment immediately and killed him. Now, so again, trying to compare how humans operate to how animals operate is insane. In nature, if you get out of pocket, you are dealt with immediately. And in nature, if you are weak, you get dealt with immediately. Nature, there's no gray area. There's no negotiating. So when those herds start running, they shift the other way to make the slow one get exposed. Think about that. Think about a herd of animals that are running and they all shift one way to expose the one that's slow so he can get eaten or she can get eaten. So again, how nature operates and how human beings operate is totally different. And trust me, you don't want to operate how nature operates. There's no grace, there's no mercy. It's swift and it's brutal. And if push comes to shove, something that looks just like you is going to eat you. So please, people, stop trying to compare how humans live civilly to Mother Nature. It's no comparison. Yes, Neat. The weak become prey. So I'm going to go back and forth between the document and some videos.
In 1974, the MOVE people revered the text as a scripture, often referring to the guidelines as the MOVE Bible. The people of the MOVE also believed that the teachings contained in the text had a supernatural ability to affect the body chemistry of those who heard it, even when spoken. According to the John Africa guidelines, there was another person besides John Africa who lived in total harmony with the natural law, Jesus of Nazareth. John Africa had a deep respect for Jesus, and he saw him as a precursor to his own message. He called Jesus the God of the self, master of reality, omniscient of wisdom. In 1972,
Omniscient, man. Listen, this dude had been mispronouncing words this entire time, and I'm just trying to figure out why was he picked to read this. Isn't it ironic that the person that he's following couldn't read, he can't read either? This is what I was talking about earlier about a standard. You have to have a standard. You all understand without a standard, it's going to be chaotic. Black folks have a very tough time creating a standard. If you can't read, you shouldn't be the one reading. Simple. If you beat on your wife, you shouldn't be the one leading. Simple. This is not rocket science. It's just crazy.
a group of university students from the Community College of Philadelphia began to discuss the John Africa Guidelines during a sociology course. When the semester ended, a handful of students on this course continued to meet. Some of these meetings took place at John Africa's apartment, evolving into what is known as the Move.
So again, we have all of the...
If you love to travel, Capital One...
We have all of the tenets of communism. We see it that the move actually got started in the school, in college. Liberalism. But I'm going to read what Mont said again. I'm from Philly, and it was Black people that wanted them out of the neighborhood by any means necessary. Black people went to the mayor's office complaining for months. And why wouldn't they? You had a group of people, a group of French people in the MOVE movement with John Africa who are literally against modern society, but they live in modern society. Think about that. Think about them not saying we want to leave the city and go out to the country somewhere. They want to be against modern technology and society while living in modern technology and society. So that means everybody around y'all is cool with the running water and the cars and the TV, the electricity. They cool with it, but y'all aren't. There's going to be a clash because groups like this don't respect people's space. They don't respect people's autonomy. They don't. These groups are very intrusive. This is why they never interview folks who didn't like the Black Panthers. They never interview folks who didn't like the Civil Rights Movement. They never interview folks who don't like the Nation of Islam. Like they never interview people that are counter to this stuff. They just only interview the folks that were either a part of it or are talking about it with historical reverence. But they never get the other side of the story, ever. Just based on what these folks believe in, they would rub the average person in a major city the wrong way because they are totally against what's going on. They're against the order and structure of the city. All Mystic Philly, happy birthday. Happy birthday, man. I'm glad you're here on your birthday. Thank you for showing up. Thank you. I'm honored. But let's continue. Hold on 1 second. Now, you remember this guy, right?
What does it mean when you say long live John Africa?
It's an homage to John Africa, who was a strong, dedicated, committed, deeply spiritual revolutionary. We think of him. We never want to forget him. We remember the many lessons he taught people. We thank him for bringing the MOVE organization, for finding it, for teaching and energizing and bringing those people, from the dead level to the movement, to the revolution. So we never want to forget him.
Now, how do you characterize your association with MOVE?
Most would characterize it as a MOVE supporter. I support them because they're very inspiring people, very deeply committed people, very heroic brothers and sisters who have fought and who tend to fight and will fight tomorrow, who have fought for decades against the system.
People who just can't compromise with their integrity or their liberty.
Never have and never will, Let me give you an example, and that might help people understand. Most people have heard the name Ramona Africa. I may have written about this. I believe I have in maybe All Things Censored. But back when she was in prison, she was imprisoned after the May 13th massacre of 1985. She was sentenced to over 7 years. She was actually given a minimum sentence that would have allowed her to come out almost immediately. The price of that, of course, was she had to renounce MOVE, leave the MOVE organization, and have nothing to do with MOVE people. She essentially told them to go to hell. And I had guys coming up to me, good guys, right? From all walks of life, throughout the prison. They would say, man, look, tell your sister, man, just tell them people, such and such, just tell them and I would look at them and say, I'm not telling her nothing, because I knew, first of all, that she wouldn't hear it, and second of all, that she would never do it. And she never did. And she's just one of many. I mean, Sioux Africa did the same thing. Bird Africa did the same thing. MOVE people are very, very, very strong, very committed to John Africa's revolution. And that's just one example.
Doesn't it seem like this culture every day asks people to compromise a principle?
Well, yeah, in every walk of life. I mean, think about the people. Now, let's think about young people in their late teens, early 20s, and what have you, who, let's say, joined the reserves or even joined the service straight up, but really joined it because they wanted to make money for college or wanted to learn a trade or a skill, electronics, computers, whatever. They saw these jazzy commercials on TV. And then they got sucked into this Iraq war. They know it's wrong, Young people are not stupid. They heard about the weapons of mass destruction and the nuclear weapons supposedly hustled in Africa, all the BS. Well, they compromised, And how many people have lost their lives because, they fell victim to a lie? Over 800, I believe, at last count. All people, die. But to fight for what you believe in is one thing. But to fight for a lie like the system, well, that's completely another, isn't it?
So that was the voice of Mumia Abu-Jamal. Mumia Abu-Jamal killed a police officer. Mumia Abu-Jamal, born Wesley Cook, is an American political activist and journalist who was convicted of murder and sentenced to death in 1982 for the 1981 murder of a Philadelphia police officer, Daniel Faulkner. While on death row, he wrote and commented on the criminal justice system in the United States. After numerous appeals, his death sentence was overturned by a federal court in 2011. The prosecution agreed to a sentence of life imprisonment without parole. He entered the general prison population early the following year. So, beginning at the age of 14 in 1968, Abu-Jamal became involved with the Black Panther Party and was a member until October of 1970, leaving the party at the age of 16. After leaving the party, he completed his high school education, later became a radio reporter. He eventually served as president of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists from 1978 to 1980. He supported MOVE and then covered the 1978 confrontation in which one police officer was killed. The Move 9 were members who were arrested and convicted of the murder in that case. So that's the guy. So again, let me read this quote from John Africa. All living beings, things that move, are equally important, whether they are human beings, dogs, birds, fish, trees, ants, weeds, rivers, wind, or rain. To stay healthy and strong, life must have clean air, clear water, and pure food. If deprived of these things, life will cycle to the next level, or as the system says, die. Now, keep in mind that what he's saying sounds awfully similar to the UN's Agenda 2030 sustainable goals. Isn't it funny that how he's talking sounds eerily similar to what the United Nations is saying is sustainable goals? That's why all these black organizations, all these black movements, their foundation is communism and globalism. So these movements are already echoes of a larger system. So the reason why he sounds so much like the UN and these sustainable goals is because that's where it came from. The same people that created that created this. There is no black movement out there that is not compromised, because all black movements have a foundation in communism and now globalism, all of them. The fact that black folks want to organize and be revolutionaries and all of this and fight against the system, they're already communist tenets. So there's no black organization that's formed that is not communist. None. There's no black organization that's formed that is going to be against this global system. This is why most black people, most black organizations agree with climate change. Climate change is the biggest psyop hoax known to mankind. And black folks have taken it hook, line, and sinker. Why? Because climate change goes into the narrative that white people are destroying the planet. But that was speaking, that was Mumia Abu-Jamal. Let's continue. Let's continue. Where is my folder? Oh, don't tell me I don't have my folder, man. Oh, here it goes. I'm about to say. I was about to say. Okay, so let's so now that we have a foundation on who John Africa is, let me go back and read something real quick before I play this video too. Let me find the video right here. And it's actually sad because a lot of these people that are in part of these movements are just young, misguided black children that's already just programmed and primed and ready. It's like taking candy from a baby, truly. It is truly like taking candy from a baby. These young people have undeveloped minds. They want to be a part of something. And then somebody come tell them that they're special because they're black. They don't have to work for it. Like it's taking candy from a baby. It truly is. Self-defense. All living things instinctively defend themselves. This is a God-given right of all life. If a man goes into a bear's cave, he violates and threatens the bear's place of security. The bear will defend his home by instinctively fighting off the man and eliminating him. The bear is not wrong because self-defense is right. What's funny about this is the city of Philadelphia has rules and regulations in place. And you all come along and say, we're going to go against them. Now, you just said if you go into the bear's cave, him killing you is justified. My thing is, if you're going against the law, you're going against the police, you're going against city government, you're going against the mayor, if you're going against the cave, because essentially Philadelphia is a cave. It already has somebody running Philadelphia. Philadelphia is ran by mayor, city government, city council. So again, you're in Philadelphia telling them you're going to do it your way. And then when something happens to you, now you crying foul. You can't have it both ways. Either the bear is right or the bear is wrong. Either you're right or you're wrong. But you can't do this and something's already established. That's why they should have just left the city of Philadelphia and went out and got some land somewhere. But guess what? They didn't have no money. They should have just left Philadelphia and went out there to the country and lived off the land. Why are you preaching this stuff and not going out to the country and actually living off the land? Why do you want to stay in the city and live off of taxpayer dollars? Right and wrong. The fact that something is legal under the system laws doesn't make it right. Slavery was legal. Killing Native Americans and stealing their land was all done legally. John Africa taught us that what is right applies equally across the board. If something is right, it's right for all of life with no separations. The system. We don't believe in this reform world system. The government, the military, industry, and big business. They have historically abused, raped, and bartered life for the sake of money. These rulers and policymakers don't care who they kill, enslave, cripple, poison, or disease in their quest for money. So you already know communism, capitalism bad, system bad, rules bad, but they have made material wealth a priority over life. Marvels of science and technological so-called advancements all stem from the system's greed for money and disrespect for life. But a person who is suffocating or drowning doesn't call out for diamonds, gold, or wads of money. The person will do all in their power for a breath of air, because air is a necessity and money is worthless. Over the last century, industry has raped the earth of countless tons of minerals, bled billions of gallons of oil from the ground, and enslaved millions of people to manufacture cars, trucks, planes, and trains that further pollute the air with their use. And because of the billions of dollars in profits to be made, the system will favor artificial transportation over the legs and feet mama gave us to walk and run with. Big business and industry are responsible for the mass production and mass marketing of cigarettes, alcohol, and drugs, which are used to extract further profits from people while keeping them sick and addicted. Politicians are put in place to legalize, endorse, and protect industry and big business. Therefore, we don't believe in politics at all. Now, my question is, what is the difference between MOVE and your average communist organization? What, again, is different from John Africa and MOVE than any communist organization? Why didn't these people move out of the city? I'll tell you why, because Black organizations are parasitic by nature. And Mott said so eloquently, I'm from Philly, And it was black people that wanted them out of the neighborhood by any means necessary. Black people went to the mayor's office complaining for months. And we're going to get into this. Black people did not want them there. The media is not going to tell you this. Black people did not want move in the neighborhood. They didn't. And the police and the mayor were responding to the complaints of the actual residents of the area. Mont said they let the whole area burn down to the ground. Mayor Good built new homes that was defective, tore those homes down and built newer homes. Money wasted behind a false prophet. So again, they rebuilt the area. Let's continue.
I was indoctrinated with a philosophy in the Panthers that revolution only meant picking up a gun and going out and murdering somebody. I never thought that revolution consisted of revolutionizing myself to get away from the things that caused me to want to revolt. I was indoctrinated with a philosophy in the Panthers that revolution only meant picking up a gun and going out and murdering somebody. I never thought that revolution consisted of revolutionizing myself to get away from the things that caused me to want to revolt.
Now, where's he getting the water from? Now, they told you all they don't believe in modern technology, but he's driving a car. They said they don't believe in the system. The system is capitalist. Therefore, why would these people be driving vehicles? Because vehicles were made out of greed, remember? The water hose that's spraying the water out of it is created for greed. The clothes he's wearing, created from greed. So my question is, why weren't these people out in the country somewhere running around in animal furs? Oops, but you can't kill the animals for the fur, so they should have been naked running around. Why are these people enjoying all of life's luxuries, but at the same time building a movement that's against those luxuries? The shoes are from capitalism. The clothes are from capitalism. The cars from capitalism. Let them tell it. The water hose from capitalism. Even the water is from capitalism. Everything they're doing in this city environment is from capitalism. Think about what I'm telling y'all. These people said, we're going to remain in the city, but be against the city at the same time. You can't do that. At least David Koresh was in Waco, way out somewhere. David Koresh wasn't in the city. He was out somewhere. Not saying he was right. I'm just saying he wasn't in the city because he knew what he was doing couldn't take place in the city. But these folks don't have any resources and they're lazy. So they said, we're going to do this in the city. We are going to do this in the city.
Long live all freedom fighters, those that love life, love freedom enough to fight for it. Long live the spirit of resistance.
5:27 p.m. State police helicopter drops it. There is the explosion.
What you're looking at now is a live picture of the water cannons pouring high-pressured streams of water onto the top of the move house.
They won't call it. Police
So again, these people were supposed to vacate these premises a year prior to this. This feud with the police had been going on since 1977. So from 1977 to 1985, they had plenty of time to leave the city. The city ran by capitalism. The city ran by everything y'all are against. They had plenty of time to leave there and go out to the country somewhere, but they didn't want to go. There's Amish in Pennsylvania. They could have went out there and lived like the Amish, but you know what? They enjoyed the city too much. It's a lot easier to do this on somebody else's dime. The whole movement was cap. It was cap. Now the police dropped bombs on the place, but my question is, if you all cared about the children so much, why not just leave the building? If you all cared about the children so much, why would y'all not say, let the children come out? If you all cared about the children so much, why wouldn't you all say, we're sending the children out? Why would y'all have the children in there and y'all having a war with the police? I'll tell you why. Because you believe that if the children are in the building, they won't be too extreme. See, they don't want to tell y'all that they were using the children as a tactic, as a war tactic. The same way them terrorist groups do, the same way the communists do. They use children as cannon fodder because they want something to happen to the children so they can say, see, look how bad they are. And y'all could have been got them kids out. Y'all could have been got those children out of that building. Before any bombs was dropped, before any bullets was fired, y'all could have got them children out of the building. MOVE, originally the Christian Movement for Life, is a community organization that advocates for nature laws and natural living, founded in 1972 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, United States, by John Africa, born Vincent Leopard. MOVE lived in a communal setting in West Philadelphia, abiding by philosophies of anarcho-primitivism. The group combined revolutionary ideology similar to that of the Black Panthers with work for animal rights. Ideologies: green anarchism, Black liberation, animal rights, anarcho-primitivism, social ecology, deep ecology, communalism, direct democracy, environmentalism. All that equals globalism. All that equals communism. MOVE is particularly known for two major conflicts with Philadelphia Police Department. In 1978, a standoff resulted in the death of police officer James J. Ramp and injuries to 16 officers and firefighters, as well as members of the MOVE organization. 9 members were convicted of killing the officer, and each received prison sentences of 30 to 100 years. In 1985, another firefight ended when a police helicopter dropped 2 bombs onto the roof of the MOVE compound, a townhouse located at 6221 Osage Avenue. The resulting fire killed 6 MOVE members and 5 of their children and destroyed 65 houses in the neighborhood. The police bombing was strongly condemned. The MOVE survivors later filed a civil suit against the city of Philadelphia and the PPD and were awarded $1.5 million in a 1996 settlement. The other residents displaced by the destruction of the bombing filed a civil suit against the city, and in 2005 were awarded $12.83 million in damages in a jury trial. So not only were these people claiming to be against the system, but they also used the system to get money from the system. These are the same people that are against capitalism. They're against capitalism. They're against city government. They're against anything dealing with modern society. But when push came to shove, they went and got that money. When push came to shove, they went and got that money. Now they gave you this whole spiel about how they was against it all, but they still went and got that money. They still went and trusted the system. Now the irony of these people standing on the system doesn't work, the system is unfair, the system is against us, the system is totally bad, and then them going to that very system and becoming millionaires from it. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. When the organization was founded in 1972, John Africa was functionally illiterate. He dictated, I told y'all, he dictated his thoughts to Donald Glassy, a social worker from the University of Pennsylvania. Now we had that university tie with communism. It's the same script over and over again. And created what he called the guidelines as the basis for his communal group. Africa and his mostly African-American followers wore their hair in dreadlocks as popularized by Rastafari. Move advocated a radical form of green politics and a return to a hunter-gatherer society while stating their opposition to science, medicine, and technology. So imagine these people wanting to go back to a hunter-gatherer society, being against science, medicine, and technology, but they live in a major city. Do you all understand how insane this is? They're against everything a major city is about. We want to take it back to the primitive ways, but still live in the city. So that means they're violating every code, every law, every statute. If you're saying we're not abiding by what the city says we have to do, that means they're breaking all the rules. Moo's work. Moo's work is revolution. John Africa's revolution, a revolution to stop man's system from imposing on life, to stop industry from poisoning the air, water, and soil, and to put an end to the enslavement of all life. Our work is to show people how rotten and enslaving this system is, and that the system is the cause of homelessness, unemployment, drug addiction, alcoholism, racism, domestic abuse, AIDS, crime, war, all the problems of the world. We are working to demonstrate that people not only can fight this system, they must fight the system if they ever want to free themselves from endless suffering and oppression. There's a typo in this. Why wouldn't it be? But as you can see, he threw in there domestic abuse. So the system is causing, as he wants to say, husbands to beat on their wives like he was doing. I guarantee he said that he beat on his wife because he was stressed out from the system. So again, the MOVE organization or the MOVE movement is very against society, the system, the government, everything. But when push came to shove, they went and got money from the system for the wrong that was done to them. They got paid twice. They became millionaires from the system. Let's continue. Let's continue.
Mike Africa Jr. lost his playmates, his home, and his innocence on this street 36 years ago.
It was Mother's Day, 1985.
The day Philadelphia police dropped a bomb on 3 blocks of this community. Home to a group of counterculture activists known as the MOVE organization.
I wasn't here that day. I was at my grandmother's house, which is about 4 miles from here.
You saw the smoke?
It was black, and you could see like ashes floating around.
The blocks were decimated.
All of the children should have been at their grandmother's house. Everybody had a grandmother back then. All of the children should be at the grandmother's house. When the police asked you all to come out, y'all should have went out. When the police asked y'all to come out, they've been asking you all for a year to get out of there, y'all should have went out, but you didn't. So when those police dropped those bombs on that building, that's you all's fault. Y'all had plenty of time to get them babies out of that building. Plenty of time. A year. But you didn't. Bunch of communists.
61 homes destroyed and 11 people killed, 5 of them children.
Again, when they talk about this MOVE bombing, they never talk about what actually happened. That it was black people that wanted these people out of the neighborhood. Could you imagine a group of people that says we're not going to follow any rules? Think about that. Think about a group of black people in an inner city and they say, we are not going to follow any rules, which means they're going to be the enemy of folks that do. They were against the police. They were against city government. They were against the mayor. They were against the city council. They were against any kind of structure. They were against it. Those type of people are not going to be able to talk to you rationally. And residents were complaining about these people a lot. Can you imagine these people live next door to you? They don't abide by any rules. And again, when they dropped the bomb on the building, it was you all's job to get those babies out of the building, not the police. That's your job. Y'all supposed to be gone from that building a year ago, but you stayed. You know why? Because you don't like to follow the rules. Here goes a news flash. You don't follow the rules, you end up dead. It's just that simple. If you don't follow the rules, you're going to end up dead or in prison. Take your pick. Being a revolutionary. Revolution starts with the individual. It starts with a person making a personal commitment to do what's right. You can't turn someone into a revolutionary by making them chant slogans or wave guns. To understand revolution, you must be sound. Revolution is not imposed upon another. It is kindled within them. A person can talk about revolution, but if they are still worshiping money or putting drugs into their body or beating their mate, how ironic, they obviously haven't committed themselves to doing what's right. Revolution is not a philosophy. It is an activity. Now imagine in the MOVE's work, he says that domestic abuse is caused by the system, but in being a revolutionary, if you're committing domestic abuse, then you are not doing what's right. So which one is it? He just says that if you're a domestic abuser, it's because of the system, but if you commit domestic abuse, it's because you're a bad person. So which one is it? let's continue.
What's next for you?
I have no idea.
Let me find. Let me.
May 13th, 1985, years of conflict between the city of Philadelphia and a small urban group known as MOVE ended in a violent day-long encounter. It was one of the most devastating days in the modern history of this city.
The big story tonight is the effort to evict MOVE. The effort has turned into a disaster.
Can you describe the philosophy of MOVE?
We were being taught about the corruption in this system. The system, the establishment, you.
Did you consider the MOVE organization to be a terrorist group?
People who threaten to shoot and kill neighbors, police. I think that's a pretty adequate description of the word terrorist.
Where is it written that we could not have a religion of our own?
The system had one intention, to either kill MOVE people or to put us in prison as long as possible. It's just that simple.
More than 36 Philadelphia policemen surrounded the building after a MOVE member was spotted on the roof wearing a hooded mask and carrying a...
So again, now you do know that these MOVE people were terrorizing the residents. This is why they never let you all hear, because the majority of folks weren't in MOVE. The majority of folks were not in MOVE. So all the folks around them, they were terrorizing them. They were threatening them. They were threatening the police. And again, when they came to evict, which is normal, when they come to evict, they see a guy on top of the roof with a shotgun. Come on. So we know that these people who were this extreme were terrorizing the people in the neighborhood. Now, when they tell you all about MOVE, they'll never tell you the truth. All they'll tell you about is that bomb being dropped. But one thing I've learned, where there's smoke, there's fire. And one thing I notice about black folks is black folks will pick one thing that a white person did to cover up the hundreds of things the black person did. I kept seeing, I said, the bomb dropped, the bomb is dropped. I said, no, this don't sound right. And when I started digging, of course it didn't sound right, because it wasn't. Because it wasn't right. Because it wasn't right.
What's next for you?
Shit, I'm sorry. I keep doing that. Ah, shit.
Human remains from the 1985 MOVE bombing in Philadelphia have been found at Penn Museum. The museum says the remains match records of 12-year-old Delisha Africa. She was one of 5 children and 6 adults killed when Philadelphia police bombed the MOVE organization's headquarters, which caused a fire that spread to dozens of row homes in Cobbs Creek. The Penn Museum says it has been taking inventory of its collection since other remains from the MOVE bombing were discovered several years ago. Lawyers for the Africa family issued this statement saying, in part, for nearly 40 years, the city of Philadelphia, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Penn Museum have refused to treat the MOVE bombing victims or their families with even the most basic level of respect and decency. And this latest revelation is just the most recent in a long line of atrocities black folks in America have had to live with. We are disgusted and disappointed, but unfortunately, we are not surprised. The damage Penn has done is absolutely appalling and unforgivable. It's time they did the right thing so these children can finally rest in peace.
So, again, notice in that clip, they kept showing you the bomb being dropped. And they've made this entire thing about that bomb being dropped. I'm going to ask you all again. Notice that nobody else was killed during this, only MOVE members. There were 60-something homes that were supposedly destroyed. So why did anybody else die? Think about what I'm telling you. The fire spread, houses were destroyed. So why did anybody else die? Why is it only the MOVE people die? I'll tell you. Because when the police told everybody else to get out, they left. When the police told everybody else to evacuate, they did it. So that means, again, that the MOVE movement, who doesn't believe in government, who's against the police, who's against the mayor, who's against the police chief, who's against the government, that group said, we're going to stay. Now, keep in mind, the police have been trying to get them out of that spot for over a year. The residents have been complaining about those people since the 70s. There were so many conflicts with the police because the residents, they was terrorizing the residents. These people never give y'all the side of the folks living around them. JV Chanel said they were just shooting in the air on New Year's after people begged them not to. Literally other black people asking them not to do it. Yeah, and they still gonna do it. I remember I was young. I was at my godbrother's house and they were shooting 4th of July and it wasn't dark yet. And they were shooting and one of them bullets landed on top of, I'm standing right here, my godbrother standing right here, my mom over there, other people over there, and that thing landed right in between my godbrother and me, right there on that top of that white van, bullet, right there. And no, we were not around any white people. Everybody in the neighborhood black. Not a white person in sight. Matter of fact, we were right across the street from the Old Park Community Center, to get more specific. Right off of MLK, to get more Pacific. Let's continue.
House. It was May 13th, 1985, after a day-long standoff outside a home occupied by members of a radical back-to-nature group known as MOVE, where police, as you saw, dropped an explosive device from a chopper onto that row home.
Why you gotta hurt them? There's kids in there. You talking about children in there all day, all night. Why you gotta hurt the kids? Think about the children. Think about the children.
Industry is this your home, a blazing smokestack belching up your prized possessions, neighborhood or free fire zone?
I'm going to ask y'all again. Why would you go to war with the police and have them babies in there? Like, just think about that for a second. Why would you all have those babies in there as you all want to engage in war with the police? They cowards. Them babies should have been gone. Those babies should have been gone. John Africa and his followers lived in a commune in a house owned by Glassy in the Paulatown Village section of West Philadelphia. As activists, they staged demonstrations against institutions that they opposed, such as zoos and speakers whose views they opposed. MOVE activities were scrutinized by law enforcement authorities, particularly under the administration of Mayor Frank Rizzo, a former police commissioner known for his hard line against activist groups. In 1977, 3 MOVE members were jailed for inciting a riot, occasioning further tension, protests, and armed displays from the group. In 1978 shootout. In 1977, according to police accounts, the Philadelphia Police Department obtained a court order for MOVE to vacate the Politown Village property in response to a series of complaints made by neighbors. MOVE members agreed to vacate and surrender their weapons if the PPD released members of their group held in city jails. I'm going to say this again. The MOVE members agreed to vacate and surrender their weapons if the police released their members that were held in jail. Nearly a year later, on August 8th, 1978, the Philadelphia Police Department came to a standoff with members of MOVE who had not left the Politown Village property. So again, this was the first time. So in 1978, they gave them a year to vacate the property, and they didn't. So before the bomb got dropped, this was 1978. This was 7 years prior, where the police said, listen, we gave y'all a year. Now it's time to go. It's time for y'all to vacate this property, because think about it now. They're against technology. They're against lights. They're against electricity. They're against refrigerators. They're against cars. They're against any type of modern technology. They're against faucets with running water. They're against all of it. So when the police said leave, they should have been glad. They should have been ecstatic to leave the city and go to the country somewhere. But they didn't want to leave, because it's easier living in somebody else's house when you ain't got to pay rent. It's easy living in somebody else's house when you ain't got to pay rent. So the police gave them a year to vacate the premises, but guess what? They don't follow rules, remember? They don't follow rules, remember? So they told the police, no, we ain't going. Okay. Okay. Now they victims, though. They was big and bad, but now they're victims. Okay. Again, nearly a year later, on August 8th, 1978, the Philadelphia Police Department came to a standoff with members of MOVE who had not left the Politown Village property. When police attempted to enter the house, a shootout ensued. Police officer James J. Ramp of the Stuttgart unit, now known as the SWAT unit, was killed by a gunshot to the neck. 16 police officers and firefighters were also injured in the firefight. MOVE representatives claimed that Ramp was facing the house and at the time and denied that group was responsible for his death, insisting that he was killed by fire from fellow police officers. Prosecutors alleged that MOVE members fired the fatal shot and charged Debbie Sims Africa and 8 other MOVE members with collective responsibility for his death. Now, let's see what the liberals say. Eyewitnesses, however, gave accounts suggesting that the shot may have come from the opposite direction to the basement, raising the possibility that Ramp was accidentally failed by police fire. MOVE members continue to insist that they had no workable guns in their house at the time of the siege. Several months earlier, in 1978, several guns, most of them inoperative, had been handed over to police at the MOVE house. However, prosecutors at the trial of the MOVE nodded to the jury that at the time the August siege, there had been functioning firearms in the house. The standoff lasted about an hour before MOVE members began to surrender. Now, common sense is going to tell y'all, why would these people give the police guns that work? Why would these people give the police the guns that work? And why would they have guns that didn't work? Think about this in common sense. Why would they have guns that did not work? For what reason? Put your thinking caps on. Let's say what they're saying is true. Why would they be walking around with guns that didn't work? For what purpose? Who are they trying to scare? Who are they trying to intimidate? Why were you all walking around with guns that didn't work? Tell me, what were you doing? I'll tell you what you were doing. You were terrorizing the neighborhood, and the guns did work. The shootout lasted for an hour, or standoff lasted for an hour. Again, this was in 1978. This was in 1978. Now again, MOVE, I'll continue this on Saturday, but the MOVE organization is no different than any other radical Black communist organization. They were no different. And they were terrorizing the city and the residents. They were. They had a year to vacate the premises in 1978. They were back again, and they had a year to vacate to 1985. So they had plenty of opportunity and plenty of chances before anybody got bombed. Before anybody got bombed, they had plenty of opportunity. They had 7 years. In 7 years, they could have built an entire community out in the country somewhere. But these people wanted to stay around all the technology, around all the city government, around all the police. Why would these people want to stay around everything they hated? Doesn't make any sense. Everything they despised and hated, they wanted to stay around. Why? Thank y'all for tuning in to my show today. I love y'all. Thank you, Angel Wings, for being an excellent moderator. Thank you, Agadas Navi, for being an excellent moderator. Thank you, Cruise Missile, for the super stick. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Pamela, for the super sticker. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Vintage Goods Willie. He says, stupid, the water boy. He's talking about John Africa. Thank you, Vintage Goods Willie. Thank y'all so much. But the movement was doomed from the jump if the leader was diagnosed as being mentally retarded. He could not read, write, or do math. And he was labeled mentally retarded. And he was labeled as having a learning disability. And he was the person everybody was following. That's going to be a problem. I'm sorry. I'm not following somebody that's retarded. Get mad. I don't care. I don't care what I'm not following somebody that's mentally retarded. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I'm sorry. So you can get mad at me. You can say whatever you want to say. I'm not doing it. Anyway, I love y'all. And I will see you all on Saturday. Thank y'all so much. Love y'all.